Cold cases can be solved through a variety of methods, ranging from forensic evidence to re-examining clues. Witnesses or suspects may come forward to provide new information, and people may be more willing to share details as time passes. While solving these cases may involve revisiting painful memories during a trial or hearing, families can gain a greater sense of closure about what happened. In some instances, convictions can lead to prison sentences, and even prisoners already serving time can face lengthier sentences, as demonstrated by the 3 cold cases featured in this list. Our video showcasing 10 solved cold cases highlights how forensic techniques often play a crucial role in bringing closure to these cases, but it also reveals that other factors can sometimes contribute to their resolution. Take a look and learn more. Cold case murder of Krystal Beslanowitch, 1995, solved through forensic technologies. An unwavering police officer who served as the original investigator on the case of Krystal Beslanowitch's murder 18 years ago, in Utah, played a key role in bringing closure to the case. Despite encountering dead ends during the initial investigation, Sheriff Todd Borner remained determined to find the truth. Beslanowitch, a 17-year-old prostitute, had suffered a fatal blow to the skull, and her body was discovered in 1995 near the Provo River. Thanks to new forensic technologies, investigators were finally able to make progress in 2013 by extracting touch DNA from the granite rock that had crushed her skull, using a specialized tool called a forensic vacuum. The DNA matched that of Joseph Michael Simpson, a former resort bus driver in the area. Simpson, now 46, was arrested in Florida in September of the current year. The Huffington Post reported on the case. The disappearance of Sherri Miller and Pam Jackson, 1971, solved by a fisherman. The mystery surrounding the disappearance of Sherri Miller and Pam Jackson, who went missing in 1971 while driving to a party in a 1960 Studebaker lark, may have finally been solved with the help of an observant fisherman. According to NPR, in September 2013, the fisherman discovered a car submerged in Brule Creek, which was located just half a mile away from the gravel pit the girls were headed to. The car was retrieved the next day, and skeletal remains believed to belong to the 2 17-year-old girls were discovered inside. While the license plate and a hubcap from the vehicle matched that of the girls' car, which had been missing for over 4 decades, it is still unclear how the Studebaker ended up in the creek. Although this cold case appears to have been resolved after 42 years, the exact circumstances leading to the car's submersion remain a mystery. Death of Pamela Shelley, 2001, solved through a guilty plea. In 2001, Pamela Shelley was found with a gunshot wound to the head in her Texas home, which she shared with her boyfriend. She died en route to the hospital. Prior to her death, she had moved from Arkansas with her 2 children to live with Ronnie Joe Hendrick, an old family friend, after splitting up with her husband. The initial ruling by investigators was suicide, but after 7 years, investigator Carl Bowen, who had responded to the incident, insisted the case be reopened. Sufficient evidence was gathered to indict Hendrick for murder in October 2012, and a trial was set for September 2013. However, a showing of cold justice before the trial revealed that it was impossible for Shelley to have shot herself from the angle that the wound was inflicted. The trial ended in a mistrial, but Hendrick eventually pleaded guilty to the murder charge and was sentenced to 22 years in prison. The outcome of the case confirmed what Shelley's brother, Donald Curley, had always believed. "There was never a doubt in my mind that she didn't do it," he said to the Victoria Advocate. Murder of Rayna Rison, 1993, solved by new testimony. Rayna Rison, a 16-year-old girl, went missing in 1993 and was found dead a month later in an Indiana pond by a fisherman. The case was considered a homicide and aired on America's Most Wanted in 1993 but remained unsolved for many years. In 2018, an arrest was made involving her former boyfriend, Jason Tibbs, who is now 38. Prosecutors charged Tibbs with allegedly strangling Rison to death after an argument about the possibility of getting back together, as reported by the Northwest Times. Tibbs' arrest was not due to forensic evidence, but because of the July 2013 testimony of a former friend, Eric Freeman, who claimed that he saw Tibbs strangle Rison and dispose of her body in the pond. However, the defense has questioned the credibility of Freeman's statement, as prosecutors offered him immunity. The criminal proceedings against Tibbs are still ongoing, but at least Rison's family has some closure on what may have happened to her on that fateful evening after work in 1993. Murder of Sara Lynn Wineski, 2005, solved through DNA evidence. Unfortunately, crimes involving homeless or transient victims often receive less attention and resources for investigation. However, the case of Sara Lynn Wineski, a transient who was found strangled and raped outside a Ronald McDonald house in St. Petersburg, Florida, in 2005, received significant attention. Despite screams being heard the night before, her body was not discovered until the following day. DNA evidence was collected at the scene but remained unsolved until 2013, when it was linked to Raymond Samuels, a transient who was in the area at the time of Wineski's death. At the time of his connection to the crime, Samuels was 31 years old and already in prison in Ohio for attempted murder and kidnapping. He will now face first-degree murder charges and will be extradited to Florida. According to investigators, DNA evidence was crucial in solving this case. The murders of 3 prostitutes, 1990, solved through DNA evidence. In October 2013, Donna Perry, 61, was charged with 3 counts of first-degree murder for allegedly killing 3 prostitutes in 1990 with a .22 caliber handgun. The murders of Yolanda Sapp, 26, Nikki Lowe, 34, and Kathleen Brisbois, 38, were initially thought to be unrelated, but were later found to be connected. Perry, who had undergone a sex change from Douglas Perry in 1990, was arrested in 2012 for possessing illegal firearms. The case was reopened in 2005, and DNA evidence submitted in 2009 was matched to Perry through a federal database. Other evidence, including old women's panties found in Perry's closet, was also discovered. She has since been moved from a Texas prison to Spokane to face the charges. The murder of Patricia Beard, 1981, solved through DNA evidence. In July 2013, the Denver Cold Case team announced the resolution of the murder of Patricia Beard, making it the 100th rape or murder case they had solved. Beard, a 32-year-old mentally disabled woman, had been found dead in her studio apartment in Denver in 1981. Her body was discovered partially clothed on her bed after she had not been heard from by family or friends in several days. According to the Denver Post, DNA evidence collected from a post-mortem crime scene kit was entered into a database in 2011, but it was not until recently that a match was found. Hector Bencomo Hinojos, a 53-year-old man from Pennsylvania, was charged with first-degree murder after the DNA evidence indicated he had sexual contact with Beard within hours of her death. Although he denied knowing Beard, his wife described him as a violent man. The murder of Anna Palmer, 1998, solved through DNA evidence. According to KSL.com, the conviction in the 1998 murder case of 10-year-old Anna Palmer, who was attacked and killed outside her front door in Salt Lake City, was the result of DNA evidence. Despite the heinous nature of the crime, investigators were unable to identify any witnesses, evidence, or suspects at the time, the news station reports. However, in 2009, forensic analysts were brought in to assist with the case and decided to examine the girl's fingernails for DNA samples. By using visible and alternative light sources to identify DNA not belonging to the girl, they made a match to a man named Matthew Brock, who was 19 and living a block away at the time of her murder. Brock was already serving a 10-year sentence for a sex-related crime with a child when the match was made. He pleaded guilty in 2011 to an aggravated murder charge in the death of Anna Palmer and is now serving a life sentence in prison. The shooting death of Roy McCaleb, 1985, solved through a confession. Carolyn Sue Krystal Wilson, now 71 years old, has finally admitted to murdering her former husband Roy McCaleb in 1985 in Houston. The 51-year-old man died from a gunshot wound, and Krystal Wilson had initially claimed that a gunman who had raped her was responsible for the murder. However, she later confessed that she had shot him herself. In 2008, she was indicted for the murder, but the charges were dismissed. The case was reinstated, and this time, she decided to plead guilty in exchange for a 6-month jail term and 10 years of probation. McCaleb's daughter believes that Krystal Wilson killed him to take advantage of a life insurance policy, but it was never paid out due to suspicions about his death. The shooting death of taxi driver Ralph Smith, 1971, solved through a confession. According to WRAL, Sinatra Dunn was sentenced to 12 years in prison for first-degree murder by a Wake County judge in December 2014. Dunn had been arrested and charged with second-degree murder of Raleigh taxi driver Ralph Smith 43 years earlier. Although Dunn had pleaded guilty in 1971, there wasn't enough evidence to convict him at the time, and he was released. The case was reopened when Dunn confessed to a detective. Dunn's sister, Jessie Jackson, claims that he has transformed over the years by overcoming drug addiction, addressing his mental health struggles, and embracing religion. The victim's granddaughter, Monica Taylor, praised Dunn's moral transformation, confession, and acceptance of responsibility for his actions. Advancements in forensic science are constantly progressing, leading to breakthroughs in solving cold cases. The implementation of DNA evidence, advancements in identifying cloth fibers, and updated interrogation techniques are among the many developments that can contribute to the resolution of long-standing mysteries.